He who has seen everything I will make known to the lands. Find out what's going on as I hereby summon all my imps to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. We got a new season pass for this month, and that card is Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is one of the 9 Eternals that was sent to Earth. In ancient times, the mighty hero roamed the earth, aiding ordinary human beings by overthrowing titans and slaying dangerous beasts. Unaware that he was actually a member of a race unable to live forever, his only goal at that time was for eternal life. Eventually, he did learn of his true heritage and is now one of the Eternals' main fighters. Gilgamesh became deified as a hero in the ancient mythology of early Mesopotamians, all due to the fact that after one of his hard-fought battles, there was a celebration held to showcase his exploits, and some illusions got used to showcase and embellish these exploits. This resulted in him as the protagonist of many an epic poem at that time. Some of these legendary exploits were narrated into poems that are still survive and are told to this day. Gilgamesh takes on the role of a warrior. He is extremely skilled and formidable with thousands of years of training and combat experience. His physicality makes him a match for any powerhouse. With his strength, his fighting ability, he is commonly seen in his gold-green armor, durable enough to withstand any blow during a fight. And he is most feared for his abilities of fighting and killing numerous foes throughout the century. Gilgamesh may be the physically strongest member in the Eternals, but his greatest strength is his kindness. His nature has managed to earn him the respect from many. But he is particularly caring toward Athena, his lifelong partner, and he will spend most of his personal time with her. He will always care for his teammates when they need him the most, and deep down inside, he is a loyal friend who would do anything for his fellow Eternals, even if that meant giving up his life. Gilgamesh is an excellent hand-to-hand combatant. With his knowledge of many methods and much weaponry used during the vast periods in Earth's history, he possesses many of the conventional superhuman powers of the Eternals, such as a regenerative healing factor, flight, strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, and reflexes. Though some of them are vastly more developed than the majority of his race, he is stated to be one of the most powerful Eternals ever. Gilgamesh shows his strength the most when he is fighting side by side with his teammates, all of whom have increased powers. This is represented in Marvel Snap by him gaining more strength for each teammate that is currently has increased power when he comes into the battle. So in Marvel Snap, he is a 5/7 with the description of on reveal, he will get +1 power for each of your other cards in play with increased power, whether that power is permanently increased power or temporary increased power. In my opinion, he is a 3-star card. Let's go over some of the pluses and minuses with Gilgamesh. First, let's talk about the pluses, which is that there are a lot of cards and a lot of abilities that will give him power. If you're playing Bounce, you have a Kitty. As soon as Kitty comes back, she gets plus power. That'll give her Gilgamesh the pump up. You have Nebula. If Nebula is left alone and it's just this is a static ability, if Nebula is left alone even once, that gets plus power. Rocket Raccoon. If it can hit on the trigger, it gets plus power. There are many other cards that have on reveals that get plus power too. Angela, any card that is played on Angela will get +1 power, +2 power. The Angela will get the +2 power, I should say. Dagger, if you move Dagger, Dagger will get the power. Carnage, if Carnage eats anything, that's technically +2 power. Okoye, if it triggers anything in your entire deck, that's +2 power. Those are the different types of decks that you can just run with simple cards like this. Then you get your big powerhouses like your Patriots and your Khazars, and of course your Blue Marbles. Now the most interesting thing about Gilgamesh is the fact that it will work with Wong and will double trigger since it is an on-reveal effect. Also, do be cautious about the fact that it gets eaten by a Cosmo for Cosmos down. Now, if you look at it just as a base power with power and stats, it's basically equivalent to a Sandman. Now, that's kind of underestimating how good this card is. Because this is just what would happen if your Gilgamesh, for some odd and inexplicable reason, didn't have a single card that it could trigger off of. It would still be a 5/7. It'd still be a Sandman worth of stats. And honestly, even as a 5-drop, that's not the end of the world. The problem sort of with Gilgamesh is that really hard to get that to really pump up. For this to be a 5/10, it needs at least 3 other cards to be boosted before it comes out. Not that that's impossible, especially with stuff like Blue Marble. But if you miss your Blue Marble and you miss your AoE buff stuff, it might be hard to have 3 cards down that are all buffed by turn 5. Not impossible, mind you, because there are locations that'll help you out. But if you can't get this above a 5/10 when this comes down, you might as well just be playing Sasquatch, because Sasquatch in almost every situation, even a bad situation, is at least a 5/10. It needs no setup on this. The other problem is because of how it's set up, you basically see Gilgamesh coming a mile away. And you have to be careful about where you play it, because even though it is a 7, a 9, an 11, a high number, you need a spot for it to sit into where that makes sense, where that's winning you away just on that spike. Well, one of the other 2 lanes is winning you over the aura effect of all the power-ups. And sometimes it's hard to get the aura effect to work. And if you can't get the aura effect to work, that spike's not going to help you out at all. So you have to be kind of cautious about how to play this on space-wise. But all in all, when you look at this card, it basically is strong, because once it gets higher, you're getting into some ridiculous power spikes here. Even on 5-drop here. Let's go to powers on 5 here for a second. Hey, other way. Come on. Here we go. This basically starts out as a Sandman, but then after a Sandman, it moves to a Gamora that didn't hit anything. And then 2 buffs, and it's already at an Abomination. That's with it having 2 buffs. With 3 buffs, it becomes a 10. Which basically puts it into the place of Dr. Octopus with no downside, or no upside, to depend on how you view Dr. Ock. So once you hit the 3 buffs, you're right at the Doc Ock level. Anything after Doc Ock, you really don't hit another good break point until you hit Red Skull. And in order for Red Skull to work, you pretty much need the entire board build to have the Red Skull come into effect. But that's such a power spike for the Red Skull. Now, this Red Skull does have the downside of the +2 for your opponent, But if your entire rest of your board is filled, you're getting an additional 11, because there's 4, then 8, then 12, and then -1 because the Gilgamesh doesn't count itself. So you get the 11 on top of the 17, which makes it a 418. Which basically puts it 2 points higher than even Red Skull can get with none of the downside of it. So you're getting that much power, but that does require you to basically fill up every single slot. As soon as you miss 2 slots, you're back down to Red Skull. And the thing is, it doesn't matter on the plus side and the negative side whether your card has +1 power or +10 power to it. Gilgamesh does not care, it counts it once. Now, the interesting thing is, again, with the wand, if you have things, it'll trigger twice. So even a small amount of items, even just 3 characters being buffed, changes this to a 13 at that point. And that's pretty good to do on 5 to have a 13-point come down. So all in all, it's a decently good card. It's going to be a solid card in the future, but I think it's almost too readable of a card to have a big impact, and there's a party that knows it's coming and will just take it down with like a Shang-Chi if you're worried about it. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.